Okay then, the EA deal is done, and the big question is, will EA just get absolutely cooked in the searing desert heat? Well, what we certainly do know is that $55 billion is enough to turn EA into a privately held black box. Because, now that the deal is done, things like analyzing their financials, understanding their...
People were telling me that I was wrong this whole time. They're so successful, they've been making so much money, but here we are. They sold to Saudi Arabia. Successful company right there. Also, people say that I shouldn't be rooting for this because an international entity took over an American company. Well, guess what? That already happened with EA. Whenever the communist globalist freaks took it over. Try and push the gay agenda.
Their plans and all of that reporting just got so much harder. And so if you're an EA employee...
And honestly, the leftoids should love this because they love the Muslims so much.
He wants to talk to us, and I have a suspicion there's a lot of people who will have a lot of things to talk about. Please do reach out, because the company doesn't really have to say shit anymore. But they have given us some hints. We know that
Are they getting out all the gay stuff?
Organizational efficiencies are coming. Staff are almost starting to lose their jobs. We will probably see projects cancelled and studios reorganized around the interests of EA's new owners. CEO Andrew Wilson says it's the company's next chapter. And I
Different
suppose
Andrew
it
Wilson.
is. I just don't really know if we're going to like the story that they're about to tell us. Alright, so there's parts of how we got here that are really vital to understanding the rest of the story. So, in September of last year, EA announced that they would be sold for $55 billion. By December, shareholders approved the sale, and in the wake of that, there was of course a lot of concern. And rightly so. We saw US lawmakers and union leadership demanding reviews of things, pointing to the damage this could do to the EA workforce, and the potential monopoly concerns over the new owners controlling quite so much of sports culture infrastructure. And beyond that, we saw consumer groups and players protest, but really, there was no way regulators are going to get involved with this. That's because EA owns no major platforms, they control no proprietary delivery methods, and they don't even really make that many games. And in the US, it probably helped that the...
Dude, yeah, like, they make sports games. Nobody really plays sports games. I mean, they get a wide audience because they're a globalist company. But, like, nobody really plays the sports games.
The president's son-in-law was the person shepherding this deal. It's also...
And what else did EA have? Or what else were they making? Mass Effect? Nope. Fuck that up. Dragon Age? Nope. Fuck that up. It's about all they got, other than sports. Just BioWare.
The case that bodies like, say, the EU waved the deal through. So there really was nothing stopping this, meaning that now the deal is done and we can talk about what's likely going to happen next and all the shreds of information that we currently know. As of August 3rd, 2026, Jared Kushner's affinity partners and private equity firm Silver Lake are both minority owners.
Didn't Jared Kushner just buy the Lakers also?
Electronic Arts, and that's because the 93% majority owners are our good friends, the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. All previous shareholders got themselves a cool $210 a share.
Which, by the way, I think they own Pokemon Go also, or at least the service that Pokemon Go runs on, but I think they've straight up owned the company that owns Pokemon Go.
Share, and within 12 hours of the deal closing, we found fun things like, say, all of their investor and financial data sharing being pulled down. And with all that, EA, the corporate entity, is now a black box. It's far harder to know what's going on. But nothing immediately is supposed to change in how EA is ran. The company's headquarters is still going to be in California. Andrew Wilson will remain as CEO, and he's just...
Get out the gays. All the libtards. All the woke degens. Get them all out.
Promoted two senior EA Sports executives to group president and experiences officer. Now, that's fairly relevant how we read this story because generally whenever somebody buys a company because they like the performance, they don't, immediately strip out the leadership that got it. Indeed, many of the key people will likely and usually do have stock vesting deals to essentially just whether they stick around. But in the first statements, we can actually already see. So, Silver Lake talked about
They're gonna gut it?
They say they want to use EA as a test
And let me be clear, I'm still not going to buy EA games.
bed. They plan to invest in, quote, what AI can do to enhance game development. Now, their partial ownership...
I'm not against AI, I'm against corporations using AI because you know that they're not passionate and they're just going to use it to save time and money. They're going to cut corners with it.
of WWE and UFC, plus relationships with other sports and entertainment brands through WME Group, may also, EA Sports. So you can see that stuff making sense. But if you ask me, the intrigue really kicks in when we talk about Kushner's affinity partners. That's not really just speculation. We actually have some stuff officially from the Saudis, which is really funny. Affinity partners, for their part, said that the global reach of EA and the brands was amazing. And as much as that can come off as just cringe business speak, I think the reach...
They're not coming back.
...may actually be the most important part of this. Now, there's a bit of context that you may need to truly get this. Jared's very own funders in the Saudi government said that his firm is, quote, unsatisfactory in all aspects in terms of investment potential. Now, they ended up giving him $2 billion anyway. How do you square those things? Well, as it turns
backroom deals.
Turns out, MBS's board, that's Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, although I do like to swap the B for bonesaw given some of the human rights record things, and journalists being chopped up. We'll get on to sports washing later. But what I think this shows us, though, that basically they got $2 billion from the Saudi.
I'm feeling like you're not going to be able to talk bad about them. You're not going to be able to criticize them.
Even though the Saudis said that it's a pretty shit firm to
we're still gonna.
invest in, is, almost certainly that access and favor with the American government's inner workings is a useful thing on the global stage. Now, for their part, the Saudis do talk about this as well. They say they've been...
Oh yeah, they got Battlefield. Blech.
A minority investor in Electronic Arts for years, and they now frame themselves as a, quote, long-term partner that's interested in the entertainment and sports sectors as key areas of strategic focus. And if you can survive another instance of
more microtransactions,
there's the words of Andrew Wilson himself, because he says that EA is entering this next chapter from a position of strength, and he says they'll be investing boldly and accelerating innovation. But of course,
it sounds like more of the same bullshit, but a different culture.
Of course, before we get to any of that stuff, we actually do already know that there is going to be pain. And not
the games that they're going to release, instead of being gay slop, it's just going to be generic.
Only that.
Because they're going to try and appeal to Americans, but they're not going to be able to put in things that are haram.
There has already been. What's vital to understand is that an acquisition starts well before there is any money on the table. EA have been spending a significant chunk of their profits buying back their own stock to drive up the company value. And at the same time, since 2022, EA have joined the rest of the industry in...
EA is so successful. Look at their numbers. Yeah, they were buying their own stocks. Holy shit.
Doing a hell of a lot of layoffs, basically carving out parts of the business that they think could be more efficient. That's led to more than 2,500 staff being laid off since then. It's led to studios like BioWare and Codemasters being completely gutted, essentially reduced to either single project studios or support studios. Then there's studios like Cliffhanger Games, who are making a Black Panther game, and Ridgeline Games, who are on Battlefield, that have been shuttered entirely. We've also seen that non-sports mobile games have broadly been abandoned. I'm not going to shed a tear for that, though. And EA have been stepping away from their fully licensed properties like, say, FIFA, but also racing games. And the way to understand all of that stuff, the layoffs and the tightening of their portfolio focus, it's basically the kind of thing...
Bro, they killed Need for Speed. I hope they fucking burn.
These companies do to show potential buyers how lean a company can get under pragmatic. But in this case, I do want to be clear about the headcount side, because yes, there's been 2,500 layoffs, but their actual headcount has been rising. The end-of-year counts were higher again in both 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, this isn't going to be good.
What we effectively see is they've been reallocating where that headcount belongs. Now, though, there will need to be further cuts. And I do say need. And to understand that, we've got to look at the financial side of this. So out of the $55 billion, only...
Who's their audience? Who's going to be buying games from a Saudi Arabian company like this? Everybody that already disliked EA are already out, and they just made even more people dislike them. Where's the audience? And they're focusing on sports games? What? You mean the games that everybody makes fun of as being... the worst cash grabs in history? And they're going to get worse. And then the players are just going to dwindle even more.
Only $35 billion is in the form of actual cash or company stock. The remaining $20 billion is financed by debt equity. Now that debt has been passed on to EA, and that means that EA as a company have got to manage that debt. Now, according to Bloomberg, EA have enticed investors to finance all that debt by promising them $400 million in savings within the next year. And we have an idea of where some of that comes from.
Holy shit.
$100 million is going to come from reviewing its portfolio. There's a lot that can mean in terms of cancellations and closures, but also they might top that up by selling off some assets they aren't using, like say their back catalog of IP.
Oh, yeah,
They also say
yes, that's what I want. I want them to start selling shit off.
$100 million can come from adopting AI tools, and $170 million in the form of organizational efficiencies.
Okay, we're just gonna adopt even more AI tools. $100 million worth, huh?
And if you take that all together, what it effectively means is almost certainly layoffs, probably game cancellations, and perhaps even some studio closures. And
I think the whole fucking thing's gonna get shut down.
that would be even before we see any integration between, say, Electronic Arts and any of the other companies that the Saudi Public Investment Fund owns. Now, it won't all be smooth sailing, and staff will likely try to fight things where they can, probably not to save their jobs. I'd say more likely to just get better conditions for how they could be treated in a layoff. Certainly, with rumors of layoffs, we've seen a lot of unionization across the industry, with Xbox being a big example. But
That's really good. Yeah, unions. No, that's what we need. That's gonna fix things.
the thing is, all that
Morons.
stuff that I just said is atop EA's regular performance. So to understand how they think about the debt, we've got to take a look at how they actually perform. Now, that would normally be hard because if you go to their investor relations page, you'll see that it doesn't exist anymore. But we do have their historical performance, and we did nab their most recent quarterly earnings before it went down. So, when 2026's financial year closed, EA had made themselves a lovely $7.5 billion in revenue, but they'd only made $887 million in net profit, even though that was one of their best years ever. And that all matters when we think about the scale of that net profit to, of course, the scale of the huge amount of debt that they've taken on, which is
Yeah, and they're still gonna be spending fucking $300 million plus to make video games.
$20 billion. Though it's obviously not just the $20 billion, there is also the interest payments. And, interest on $20 billion is going to be a lot. Now, they do think that they can stay ahead of this through careful accounting and, as we've seen over the last few months, finding new ways to monetize their games. In that report, they highlighted increased
Ads in-game incoming.
revenue from Apex Legends and Battlefield 6 microtransactions, even as Ultimate Team dropped off a bit. But EA's current wave of investments do go far beyond microtransactions. You guys had quite the reaction to EA's new in-game advertising platform that they've been rolling out over the last few months. Can't say that I love it, you know. Red Bull being a event in Battlefield. There's other things like, of course, hoarding promotions on the EA Sports games, but it does actually go further than that still. As an example, The Sims just rolled out their UGC Maker Marketplace on PC and consoles, where they take a lovely 70% of every asset transaction. You know, usually when you hear 70-30, the 70 goes to the person who made the thing. In this case, quite a lot less.
Milking.
But then there's just the raw price of the games. EA Sports FC, kind of quietly, because I think in a lot of gaming culture...
Milking those pay cows. I almost said milking the pay pigs. You can't really milk a pig. Can you?
We just treat the sports
I wouldn't drink pig milk.
games as if they're off in their own bubble. But get this. They raised the ceiling on what a premium launch edition could be to $150, making it their most expensive single game ever. And of course,
They're definitely going to be the first company to push $100 games.
while trying to
And people will buy them.
push pay-to-win mechanics into games like college football, and quite literally removing mechanics from the prior game and then trying to sell them back to you in the next game. They literally did that, and at the very least, people were pissed off enough that EA did end up reverting it, but we all know
They still bought it.
they want to do, right? And I think it's fair to say we all know why. They want to make EA look good for their new owners, and they want to tell those new owners that each element of EA can pull its own weight. And you know what? If I was to really try and steel man...
Dude, if you buy every yearly release of a sports game, multiple sports games, you are a fucking giant retard. I know so many people who do this, and they are the dumbest people that I know.
and their situation, you could
If you are one of the people that buys the sports games, I'm not sorry. You're retarded.
say that they've actually got more of a chance of pulling all this stuff off than they did in the past. There is a world where a now privately owned EA isn't beholden to quarterly reporting, meaning that they're more able to make long-term investments and monetary decisions. Take a little bit of pain now for better gain in the future, and not having to worry about spooking a market. Maybe that could mean better decisions, maybe ones that are less immediately hostile to customers. All that's what a best case scenario would look like, but I don't think we're going to get that. Money then. It's not.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any successes here. I'm not hearing anything that sounds good for me. I'm definitely not buying in.
The only thing that the Saudis want, though, absolutely, yeah, they'll want EA to make a load of money. Duh. But the goal for a Saudi-controlled EA is to be a part of their broader and very long-running strategy of sports washing. All the tomfoolery with the private equity firms, sort of trying to facilitate the deal, grease the wheels of it, etc. That's just kind of that being there to maybe make some bank and, of course, offer a little bit of closeness to, say, American government. But let's do the sports washing thing. Sports washing is why a government-backed fund like the PIF would invest in. You take, say, a reputation like that of Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's, a man the CIA connects to the murder of journalists, or, of course, the deeply repressive state itself, one that is full of really quite horrific human rights violations. And I can understand, especially in a world where it feels like stories aren't always about just like the contents of the story, and they're more about like a sort of political fight. I can understand how people might just read that and see, oh yeah, whatever, they have problems, sure, but doesn't everyone? I mean, if you've got the stomach for it, I would recommend you actually look into what those things really look like in that country. Even say some of the migrant worker stuff. It is genuinely horrifying and honestly fucking barbaric. It is awful. Of course, it's what sports washing exists to launder. And the way that's done is fairly goddamn simple. You launder the reputation by connecting the state to things that people like. That could be, say, expatriate programs to, get people in, say, whatever, come over here, we're not going to tax you. It, of course, can be a lot of real sports stuff. It's also been in some technological areas, and of course it's also in games. That's why they're buying up stakes in major companies like Nintendo, whilst outright buying SNK, Scopely, and others. There's projects like Neon, the fundamentally ill-conceived, pretty stupid mega city in the desert. That's almost certainly not going to happen, but has still displaced natives.
Isn't that the Line City?
And killed a lot of workers thus far. But hey, that's just like inconvenient downer stuff. Let's put that out of our heads and take a look at the esports city that they've built, or how they've purchased the fighting game tournament EVO and are creating an esports World Cup out of nothing.
Yeah, that's gonna work because people really love esports.
Those be fun. Let's focus on them instead.
God damn, it just seems like bad decisions after bad decisions. They're trying to do things they think are popular because people are telling them they're popular. But these people don't play games, so they don't know what's going on.
The point. And so buying Electronic Arts, placing their sports games at the...
It's like they're trying to control the culture rather than flow with it,
center of a big web of connections.
They never learn.
Say, Silver Lake's talent to Saudi sports washing. It's why this ultimately does all make quite a lot of sense. That is, except for the parts that don't. And you may like some of those parts. EA single-player games and library of IP are relatively prestigious. They very much don't suit this model, and there's also fundamental incompatibilities between the mindset of EA's new owners and, well, the reality of many of EA's customers. But hey, if you're straight and based, no worries. Let's just not care about the other people we, share our country. And that's especially the case where you've got games that do have a significant, say, queer audience, as one example. And on that, there's one thing I want to be really clear about. Because
they're definitely not going to hold that queer audience. And they're not holding their chud audience either.
Because a lot of this just gets turned into stupid culture war like bollocks. And people are like, oh, well, you know what? At least the Saudis are based or something. Gay people are flogged.
That's a weird one. I haven't heard anybody say that Saudi Arabia is based. I've only heard that, gay company goes to Saudi Arabia. That's based. I hope it burns completely to the ground.
Killed in that country.
Not literally.
So this is...
just financially.
Not about someone having a lifestyle that you can't understand. This is something far more fundamental about state power and a state that is pretty much incompatible with American values, most European values, etc., etc. I only talk about those because of the ones that I happen to know. That is a problem. because now they do actually own the things that you like, and that's probably not good for you and me. And even to put all that...
Hey, they don't own anything that I like. Like, all the things that I like died a long time ago from EA.
Aside, if all you want is like the next Mass Effect, it's hard to see all of this being...
I don't want no fucking Mass Effect.
Good for you. Over, of course, in, say, the land of the Sim.
Mass Effect ended. Mass Effect 3, that was the end. There's no more.
As well, Sims fans have been very vocal about their concerns. What do the characters and games they love look like in a Saudi-owned Electronic Arts? Now, the developers themselves have been clear to say they don't intend to change anything based on this, and that's fine. But you shouldn't trust their words, not because they're untrustworthy, but because they simply don't have the power to back up those words. The devs don't get...
Yeah, if the money ain't there, they're gonna have to do things to make money. They'll have to make changes
to make that call because their studios don't own the things that they're working on. They are just part of a much larger machine. And while that was the case when EA was a public company, a big old machine producing lots of headlines for us to have fun about, they are now part of an even larger and quite different machine. Challenge is that machine has started to break a little in 2026. The Saudi sports washing and investment program has actually seen spending be cut across many projects in the last year. And the reason why is fairly clear, and I imagine you already know it.
I have a conspiracy theory. I think all of these companies were being forced by international investors to push all of the nonsense that is against American values, is evil, and against American culture, so that everything will be devalued for them to buy it up.
The American attack.
So they can manipulate American culture, Western culture, which is not how that works. You can't exactly manipulate culture. Some stupid people will jump on board, but most people, they're not on board with this shit.
On Iran and all the things that sort of spewed forth from that over the past few months, those have obviously been challenging for the region, challenging for, say, oil exports. That's been hard for America's Saudi allies. The oil fields and oil sales that power all of this sports washing are rapidly losing potential value over the next few years. And there's very little slack in the portfolio to solve any of this problem. And that may just kill the hopeful version of a privately held EA that no longer has to live earning.
I hope that they crumble.
Report to. That's because a fund under this much strain may not be able to be that patient, and that may indeed mean that the EA investment will have to pay off. And if it doesn't, well, it's not like there's anyone else around who can buy EA out, right?
Yep.
And I think that all means that, at least for the next few years, what you see from...
If nobody's able to pay for how much you're valued, is that really how much you're valued?
EA is going to morph and probably be very different as came before. So then, there's a world where the promises are true, where the Saudis bought EA for their massive range of IP and their huge audience, and hey, it's investment. Obviously, they don't want to be a wholly oil-dependent.
I'm calling it now. I think Bobby Kotick is going to be a very, very prominent figure in EA soon. I think he's over at Paramount right now. Because all these corporations, they just exchange the same corpo retards that destroy everything to make a quick buck, and then so they can have enough money to buy their yachts.
Economy, so they want to grow their tourism sector. They want to invest in other things around the world. All that stuff that does actually make quite a lot of sense. And of course, if global reach and economic diversification is really what they want, they obviously would not want to stifle that. They wouldn't want to make the line go down. Who does that? And that may have been the type of future.
Yeah, they're going to fake the line going up is what's going to happen. They're going to manipulate things to make it look like the line is going up while they're still on fire.
Where we see, say, the investments that they made in Scopely, turning Monopoly Go into one of the world's biggest games, or maybe...
You know, the United States was looking real good. It was looking like they were in a golden age until one day in 2008, the financial crisis happened. Overnight, that's how it happens. These companies, they just go away. Overnight, they crumble. You keep hearing about their struggles, and the numbers keep going up, but somehow they're still struggling, and the number keeps going up, and they're struggling, and then they end up being like AOL.
Maybe one, like with, say, SNK, where they have got to revive legacy franchises. But the thing is, the people who own EA now, the collective consortium, have given us no real reason to believe that's the case.
Even if they bring back old franchises, it's not going to be the same. It's just going to be a new version of the old franchises, which everybody's fucking tired of.
And given EA's sports portfolio, given the overall sports washing goal, it does seem that's likely quite a major. Now, to end, we do have words from the big man himself, Andrew Wilson. He talked about the vision that led to the original founding of Electronic Arts. Just perfectly woolly words of leadership. But now everything about that vision is going to be filtered through their new private. And we'll just have to see how closely it aligns with what people actually...
It sounds like it's not doing that so far.
Let's see how it goes. And I know this video maybe in tone has been a little bit different to what we usually do here. It's the kind of thing where when I'm running this channel, I want it to be mission focused. It's a channel about video games. It's not a channel about geopolitics. It's not a channel about domestic American politics or anything.
Yeah, unfortunately, video games have gotten too big. They are, I think, the video games, are they the biggest industry in the world right now? That in, like, entertainment? I'm gonna check. Yep, the video game industry is the largest entertainment industry in the world by revenue, generating approximately $184 billion annually. So of course geopolitics is going to start sinking in and trying to make money off of it. They did it with Hollywood. Of course they're going to do it with video games. They're going to do it tenfold.
Anything like that. But in this case, those things do seem directly tied to the actual video games, and therefore I do see it as being on mission, and I think reporting this story, sanding away all the edges, sanding away the things that can maybe offend people, I think that would be deeply irresponsible, because I think you guys have a right to be properly informed, and as someone who is like processing and relaying news, as our team is working on all of that news, doing the sourcing, the research, the investigation, it's important that we don't turn a blind eye to this. So that fun little ramble done, I think we could all do with a more light-hearted topic, but one we still care about. And I think you should watch this now.
I don't do light-hearted topics. I only do the political ones that are dire for the gaming industry. And I love it. I want the gaming industry to completely crumble. Yellow Flash.
Well, it's just another day with video game hijinks. Got some good stuff for you today.
Woo!
Were you looking forward to the
good stuff.
XCOM style Star Wars Zero Company?
Nope.
I actually kind of was. I thought it was an interesting idea. That's something I don't think has been done before. So I was looking at it with a little bit
What was that, EA?
of interest. Wasn't really sure if I was going to get it, because that actually is something that I would be interested in. Just like that pod racing game that's coming out.
I'm out on that too. It reminds me of Power Drome. Remember that shitty PS2 game that Walmart was trying to shit out to everybody?
Though I'm going to wait for reviews from people I trust on that game. This game, however, not buying it because of a new interview that
I identify as non-binary.
came out today from Rock, Paper, Shotgun, or yesterday, I believe it dropped.
Rock, paper, shotgun still a thing? Holy shit.
So I saw this post first from Endymion, and boy, oh boy, was it telling. New Star Wars game. Looks inside. They, them pronouns.
Main
He's a
character.
Main character.
Wow.
Word salad journalism, activism. The Western industry is going to bury itself alive at this rate, won't it? Who is this for? And that's a good question. Who is this for?
It's for... It was already being made because Saudi Arabia and other international entities wanted to devalue the company so they can get a cheaper price. And this is one of those games that was a victim of that.
So I went to check this out for myself. I had to see, is this real? And sure enough, it is. So Rock, Paper, Shotgun puts this article out. Time will tell. Bit Reactor talks queerness in Star Wars Zero Company, and whether they'll keep working with the Saudi-owned EA. Trying to get this thing out the door so all that paint is pretty fresh. Well, I won't be watching this paint dry. What a stupid idea this is. Imagine doing this in today.
Imagine thinking this is a good idea. I wonder what the thought process of the people who made this game it was like. Were they just trying to own the chuds? Was that the whole reason they made this game and other games like Dragon Age? Were they even passionate about making the game, or were they passionate about owning the chuds?
Today's AAA climate. So a lot of people probably not going to pick this game up now because they don't want to deal with this shit.
Yep.
And
I already wasn't going to pick it up, but this just seals the deal for me to not even get it if it's $1. I'm not even going to get it if it's free. Nope. No, thank you.
it isn't just a character option this time. At least according to the developers themselves, you cannot change the way your character is addressed, even though you can apparently make a custom character. The character is not set. You can create it, but you don't get to change the way you're referred to, which is always they, them. Let's read this word salad, because I gotta say, it is... I can't think of anything better to not only sum up video game journalism, but AAA gaming. These activists literally are playing with millions of dollars of a company's money so that they can just push heteronormative pronouns out of here.
It's the same shit with the Democrats using fraud money to fund everything, you know? That's the same shit. They're just using corporate money because the corporations don't care and they think it's part of the culture.
Listen to this word salad.
And a lot of them are into it. And they buy up these companies, they get put at the top of these companies, and they don't give a shit. They're just going to move on if everything crumbles. They're going to go to a different company and then do the same thing.
And Bit Reactor's XCOM-style tactics RPG, Star Wars Zero Company, you play a custom character called Hawks, who is referred to using they-them pronouns. With my armchair producer hat on, I suspect that partly just a way to avoid recording several sets of voice lines for different player pronoun choices.
So it's they're using the pandering to the leftoids in order to cut corners? What?
But Zero Company, as a whole, does support expressions of gender that differ from heteronormative male and female archetype, or at least
heteronormative. Dude, I'm so tired of these words.
It's different
They're made
enough
up
to make me, a cisgender writer, curious about expressions of queerness and transness everywhere in Star Wars.
What a story, Mark.
So this game is instantly off of my radar.
It's fucked.
Now, the whole article is about how excited the writer is for gayness in Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then why...
If you were a fan of Star Wars, you wouldn't want this shit in there. You are just a tourist, a commie, actually, because you want to take it over and morph it into something disgusting and degenerate.
Bit Reactor might not work with EA anymore. So now a lot of these journalists are going after EA because they've been bought out.
They will still work with EA if EA is going to pay them. Because what else are they going to do? Become indie and then not have corporate money backing them? No way.
Out, and they're now Saudi-owned. And the reasoning for that is because, well, I don't know how much you know about Saudi Arabia, but they're probably not going to be too keen on putting this kind of stuff in future gamings. And because these people apparently really don't care that much about money, they're now going to be forced with a dilemma. Do we work with EA? And you better believe me.
Let me tell you something about money. Money is a capitalist blood currency. That's what it is. That's what these people think. They think money is just capitalism. We won't need money in the communist utopia. Everybody will just be allowed to do the jobs that they want to do. There'll just be infinite money.
Activists are going to go insane over it. So to take
no,
it
they're
back
not.
a little bit...
I don't think anybody cares. I haven't seen anything about this game. I just saw it pop up on my YouTube, and I was like, holy shit, this sounds interesting.
Off the Star Wars thing, because this game is cooked. You can see why these things are so important to these developers, because they're activists first. And a really good example of this would be to take a step back to yesterday's video and talk a little bit about Supermassive. Remember, Supermassive is going under.
Done.
They have made the difficult decision.
They got too supermassive and exploded. It was like Goku giving that dragon guy too much energy, and then he exploded.
To begin a redundancy consultation. So basically, they're going to be interviewing everybody that works for them and asking them what they do here. So they're going to have to make some hard cuts. Well, there's an interesting...
Isn't that what Elon did to X?
Video here from...
Or I guess Twitter.
Learning the Law. going over some parts from a super massive interview about their favorite LGBTQ plus IA characters in video games and how important it is. All of them are fired too, by the way. Let's watch this. Here's the video, and there's learning the law. Let's go through this important context here, and you can find out for yourself why video games are kind of cooked. You see, all of these people thought they were untouchable, could pretty much just do whatever they want in gaming, and you would just keep buying it and have no choice. And it was too big to fail, and basically they can go ahead and shed those chuds, get rid of those chuds. They'll have a more refined and sophisticated audience to buy their shit. Well, none of that happened, and now they're all going out of business. So let's watch this very important video here.
So my favorite character is Ellie from The Last of Us 2. Clearly like her so much because I have her tattoo, but you know, I enjoy her because she's a great character, she's courageous, and she drives me to the game. I find that really cool thing about Ellie as well, that her partner is Dina, and she's a great bi character. So
Favorite
Oh.
plus character in gaming has got to be either Dorian or Ironbolt from the Dragon Age series. Growing up, there wasn't a lot of reppers in games, so being able to actually have a character that I could primarily romance and be able to be a little bit more authentic
Fire the gays. All of them.
instead of having to be
Real alpha male right here.
a pretty woman that marries Alistair. You couldn't romance him in the first game.
My favourite character in games is Lev from The Last of Us Part 2. His determination, his will.
I like how it says advanced game designer. I bet you're advanced. I bet.
So immense about being who he really is
He got advanced by saying all of the right things.
in sort of the darkest of times by being persecuted by his community and the apocalypse. And he's just really cool as well. Really fun.
Real cool, real cool. Goes on for a little bit more, but I think you see the point here. Like, all of this stuff is more important than anything else in the game. And a lot of these people make it clear. I'm surprised that that Star Wars game and the way they're handling that got approved by EA. Like, what are you doing, EA?
It got approved by EA because they saw the writing on the wall. They knew they were going to get bought by Saudi Arabia, so they were like, well, just shit out all the gayest stuff that we can.
If you had the option to have he or she in there, and apparently you do, but they still call you they, them anyway. At least going by what Rock, Paper, Shotgun is putting out there. Now, if that's not true, BitReactor better jump on that. But I doubt they will, because then they get feedback that's bad. Maybe Saudi Arabia will make them do something. I don't know. Now, it doesn't stop here. We're going to now take a look at another studio that closed last month. Well, they didn't close. They're also consolidating, and I thought I would show you why. So, Compulsion Games, back in 7/6/26, so not that long ago, announced that they were splitting from Xbox, and they were also going to have to move some of their team members into a new transition period, and that transition period is called unemployment. So they
That's
are
funny.
also laying people off, and you're probably
And they identify as unemployed now. That's what happens whenever you go trans.
saying, well, who is Compulsion Games? Well, Compulsion Games made the award-winning South of Midnight. Do you remember that disaster that was a complete flop when it came out? Had like 1,000 people playing on Steam.
And it wasn't even that bad. It was just that nobody wants the gay shit no more. That game was basically just a PS2 game. It didn't even have better graphics than a lot of the PS2 games. It was kind of just bleh.
Even that, and there was no numbers for it on any other system. It was a complete bomb, but somehow still got awarded Game of the Year and all kinds of other things.
Yeah. So did Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It won Game of the Year.
And that's because of game journalists, who are also a big reason as to why
The game journalists, they shake hands with these AAA companies. AAA companies use them to push their products to make more money. And these activists use the game companies to help push their agenda, and all their agendas are aligned. And they're all owned by the same international corporations and investors.
the video game industry is in the state it's in, because they've pretty much manipulated everything and have kind of put the strong arm on a lot of these developers to bend to their will. Developers go out of their way to try to police these people. They go out of their way to cancel anyone that goes against them. Reset Era, a forum where a lot of these people hang out, is full of cancel pigs that go after anybody that doesn't adhere to their Stalin ways.
I call them degen freaks.
Jason Schreier is a really good example of that. Polish Tamales made a good little list of why that guy's scum. He's in the
I love Polish Tamales. She follows me and likes my posts quite often.
middle of a big controversy right now because he got busted lying about his Blizzard bullying bullshit. He made up a bunch of shit about Blizzard,
The Cosby closet. Give me a fucking break.
basically. And that was a big story. Blizzard got in a lot of trouble because of him and his investigative journalism. Here's some shit that he's done. And he says he isn't part of the culture war, but he is the culture war. 2013 of April. Called Dragon's Crown Sorceress design made by a 14-year-old boy accused of moral panic over sexualized art. June 2013, branded trendy entertainment a studio from hell over crunch and sexism. Later claims were questioned. In 2013, Bethesda blacklisted him and Kotaku for years for his internal reporting. 2014-2015, Game Journal Pro's membership sparked collusion accusations during Gamergate. May 2016 reported No Man's Sky delay causing death threats to developer. June 2020,
I remember that. I was very, very heavy into the No Man's Sky culture before it came out, and I didn't buy it. I bought it in 2021 for $10. Best video game purchase I ever made. That game is so good. If you played it back then or you haven't played it yet, I highly recommend you get it now. Because holy shit, it's endless.
Feuded with Neil Druckmann over called a bully by other devs. 2021-2024, accused of timing amplifying Blizzard harassment stories for his book Play Nice. November 2023, leaked GTA 6 trailer timing early. Rockstar staff publicly disliked the snooping. October through November 2024, called Veilguard critics chuds, admitted he disliked the game but loved dunking on them, then deleted the posts. And then, of course, August 2026, locked his X account and fully shifted to Blue Sky as the Blizzard story resurfaced. Jason Schreier doesn't just report the culture war, he created.
I have infiltrated Blue Sky successfully. I've got secret Blue Sky accounts. They keep banning me. So I just made a whole bunch of secret accounts because Proton lets you make a whole bunch of emails. If you pay for Proton, you get so many emails, and you can just delete them and make new ones. It's really easy without even having to go through all the rigmarole of setting up a new account.
Creates it. And I think that's a good summary of not just him, but every single video game journalist out there. They have done their part in also destroying everything that we love about gaming. But as I've
So now we're going to destroy them.
stated before, there is a course correction coming. We've seen...
It's already here. The AAA gaming industry is completely fucking done. AA and indie and retro is where it's at right now. That's why we keep seeing these re-releases of old games. That Lord of the Rings War in the North game just got re-released, and they're saying that they're going to be re-releasing a whole bunch of other games. Hell yeah.
Lots of people get laid off, and we're going to end the video with another layoff. You have a game journalist, or not a game journalist, I'm sorry, a developer that worked for Saber Interactive.
I saw this.
They fired Stella.
Yeah. Who?
Stella, who was their lead narrative writer. Well, them got fired and replaced with AI, and I would say the AI is a little bit of an upgrade maybe here. But yeah, that's where we're at now. So they're all losing their jobs. Journalists.
I mean, I don't mind the AI if it's good. If they're using it correctly and they're not cutting corners.
Are getting laid off and terminated. Studios are continuing to fall.
If they use AI because they think it's cool, I'm all about that shit.
Ruining games before they come out. That Star Wars game, a lot of people were actually excited about that. I saw a few people that I knew. Talked to them. They were excited because apparently there's some XCOM people attached to this game. And what's the first thing they do when they get this Star Wars property, a property with tons of people? Well, still a few people, but not tons anymore. It's a dying brand. That's why they have to make comic books now that cross over Star Wars and Marvel. Talk about desperate.
I didn't know that was happening.
Desperation right there. I can smell it coming from this photo.
Dude, I could see that happening 10 years away, man. I called that shit so hard that they were going to start doing crossovers because they need to make money. But I thought it was going to be more like Marvel and DC. I really thought Disney was going to buy DC and have a monopoly on superheroes. Imagine that being the thing that they have to fight in the government. A monopoly on superhero properties.
But that's where we're at now. And it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. And I'm fucking here for it.
Yeah.
So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Also, if you would, please like, subscribe, share the video, hit that notification bell, and we'll...
Dude, I fucking love it. I love how all these companies are suffering.
Camelot 331. Camelot 331 here, and they got him. They got my boy, my beautiful
they did.
boy.
Oh, no.
The Halo composer.
He's so done. He's never going to be able to work again.
Sir Marty O'Donnell
Oh.
was just fired and canceled from an anime con called
He's the Halo composer, the original Halo composer.
SacAnime con over some straight up BS. And this happens all the time. I'm going to be completely honest. Happened to me once as well. Over nothing. Absolutely nothing. Basically,
Happened to Smash JT also.
people say he's unsafe. And we're going to get into this. But
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, what do they think that he's going to do to them? Say mean words? You're murdering me!
I just think it's insane that we're at a point in 2026 where just simply having a different opinion, and not even a different opinion that actually is dangerous in any way, shape, or form until they change it to make it that way and sell that as their own narrative.
Well, his words and his policies, they're literally killing trans people.
To basically cancel somebody that's already planning
It's making people feel bad to the point where they have to off themselves.
on choosing them to spend their time
Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa!
with and to bring joy to the fans. He's the composer for Halo, brother. He gave us all the most beautiful hits. All the beautiful hits, brother. It's amazing. So before we get into this, make sure you like this, subscribe down below, and let's get into the sauce right now. So right here, this says Halo composer Marty O'Donnell canceled by convention after former Kamala Harris account misrepresents comments, which is exactly what happens. It always works this way every single time. They take a 2-second clip and then
Lies. And they know it's lies. They don't care. They're a bunch of commies. If you're not marching in lockstep with them, then they want your head.
like, this is what I perceive this clip as, therefore this person should be punished for what I perceive they're saying. And usually they don't even perceive it that way, they just make it out to be that way so they can get what they want. It says Halo composer and Republican congressional candidate Marty O'Donnell says he's been disinvited from the upcoming SacAnime convention after LGBTQ staff members reportedly objected to his appearance over his political comments. Comments that were previously portrayed by a...
What the hell is happening in the background? Why is everything so broken?
Kamala Harris aligned social media account as calling for the persecution of LGBTQ plus people.
I had to make sure that wasn't my OBS.
Which is not what he said even remotely. But that doesn't matter in these situations. It never really has.
Yeah, didn't he say something about Marxism?
That's right. It says there is one significant problem with the characterization. O'Donnell never called for the LGBTQ plus people to be persecuted in the comments being cited at all. Not even remotely at all. But that, again, doesn't matter. So here's exactly what Marty said immediately. So Marty said, I'm very disappointed that SacAnime has disinvited me from a Halo 25-year reunion at their conference next month. If you thought we defeated cancel culture in 2024, well, guess what? Think again. Well,
Yeah, they've gone completely insane because they know they're losing.
listen. Same exact thing happened to me last year. The Game and Geek Expo, I think it's called, or the Geek and Game Expo, I don't know.
They keep kicking me out of their fucking Facebook group, but I'm making them more popular so they can't actually outright ban me. I love it.
Raleigh, North Carolina, they invited me out to do a guest spot to sign some stuff and hang out with some people because I do these things all the time. And unfortunately, one of their staff members came into my live stream, and in my live stream I play like a goofy like Trump meme intro. Like back a year ago I used to play that intro, and it's just Trump and an Asian lady and they're dancing. You know, it's a straight up meme, right? Well, at any rate, they saw that and the lady refused to allow me to attend the con, and they made a statement saying that people felt unsafe with me being at the convention because I played a Trump intro, a meme Trump intro as my...
Well, they're going to feel bad. That's why they're saying they feel unsafe. And if they feel bad, then you're murdering them.
Intro to my stream. Now, that being said...
Yeah, they want to kill themselves. That's what they mean by feeling unsafe.
The funniest part about my situation is one of their main guests was a voice actor, I believe it was a voice, who was a liberal, luckily enough, right? Who had actually been convicted of SA, like straight up convicted.
How about
But apparently he's safer to be around than I was because I had a Trump intro. But that's neither here nor there. But these things happen all the time. So here is what the promoter says, the SacAnime.
They actually are big fans of crime of all kinds. As long as you have the right talking points, they don't give a shit.
The promoter says. This is the message they sent to Marty. It says, hey, Marty, the promoter for SacAnime has shared that his LGBTQ staff does not feel comfortable with you. Exactly. See, same thing. We feel unsafe because you said a thing and then we misinterpreted it on purpose to get you out. Because you got to believe that when they heard he was coming at all, they were probably working towards trying to get that removed immediately. I promise you they were.
Yeah, just because they don't like them.
It says, based on your recently reported statements of the political campaign, they have rescinded their invitation to not cause any further staff upset. Absolute BS.
All the staff that gets upset over somebody attending an event, fire them.
All this is going to do is cause the Streisand effect. That's what these things do, right? It says, O'Donnell revealed his removal from the convention in an X post on Tuesday. I'm very disappointed that SacAnime has disinvited me from the Halo 25 conference. The former Bungie composer, whose work alongside Michael Salvatore helped create the iconic sound of the Halo franchise, included a screenshot of the message explaining why it was rescinded. Shocking, right? It says right here what Marty O'Donnell actually said, right? It says on July 17th, the verified headquarters account on X, formerly associated with the Kamala Harris campaign, posted a clip of O'Donnell appearing on the WDW Pro show. The account made an explosive accusation. They said, here's the accusation. It says, unearthed, breaking, boys, breaking. We got him this time. It says Trump endorsed Nevada GOP candidate Marty O'Donnell. See, they put the Trump endorsed in there to make sure you know he's evil, right? Because that's how these things work. Marty O'Donnell calls for the persecution of LGBTQ plus people and treating them as an existential threat.
Well, okay, so I don't even think that they think that he said that. He's a Republican, so he automatically thinks this. That's what they have in their brains.
Okay, so they're literally changing everything around to fit an excuse to cancel him and get him out of there because, to be fair, they just hate him, right? They hate all these people. They want all these people dead. You know, at least the people that are, like, very vocal about it and performance about it, right? You know, I don't really care if you're left or right. I'll hang out with you, brother. We'll drink some drinks. I don't give two shits about this.
I'm fine with people on the left as long as you're not a fucking leftoid and politics is in front of everything that you do and you're all about your sexuality and identity, which is most of them now because all of the smart people already fucking left the left.
But these other people, they totally do, unfortunately. So here's what he actually said. He said, speaking about what he views as an ideological threat facing Western society, O'Donnell said, talk about an existential threat. This is where we are right now. We are on a cliff.
Can he not say existential?
Looking down into the abyss, and the abyss is Marx's anti-Western philosophy. There's a weird alignment.
Isn't it illegal to be a communist? I'm pretty sure it is. Hold on, let me look that up real quick, because I keep hearing it. Believing in or being a communist is not illegal in the United States. Damn, it should be. As political ideology and affiliation are protected by the First Amendment against prosecution for more belief or abstract advocacy. However, the Communist Control Act of 1954 remains on the books, declaring the Communist Party, USA, so it's just a party? That's fucking stupid. Bureaucracy at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Well, technically, we're not the Communist Party, USA. Technically, we are the new Communist Party. It's different. It's a different thing. An instrumentality of conspiracy to overthrow the government and stripping it of legal rights, which is what Hassan Piker and most of those DSP fucks. DSP? Not DSP, that's Dark Side Phil. DSA is what I meant. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to overthrow the American government and change it to be a socialist system. They want to get rid of capitalism and replace white people.
Alliance of all these groups who like to pretend like they're oppressed. The LGBTQ, the Islamists, Marxists, they're all together now. Whatever one thinks of O'Donnell's argument, headquarters didn't simply criticize his words, it attributed a position to him that he did not express. Most glaringly, O'Donnell does not call for the persecution of LGBTQ plus. It's so hard to say, man. It's so hard to say. I'm from Alabama. Can we shorten that bitch?
What did that one chick say? LGBTQ?
anywhere in the quoted remarks. There's no call for persecution of anyone at all. Furthermore, O'Donnell explicitly identifies the abyss he is discussing as Marxism. Marxism, those damn commies. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's headquarters.
Every time. Every single time. Because they are commies.
Transforms that argument into the considerably more inflammatory allegation that O'Donnell wants LGBTQ plus people persecuted and considers them an existential threat.
If he did say that based, but I don't think he did.
Here's what they did. They took like 3 words out of this entire paragraph statement that he said and put those together. And then they're like, we canceling you now. My idea is likely they were trying to cancel him to begin with. And that was the silver bullet, right? The silver bullet. Okay. That's how this works. That's how it's worked. It's always worked. It says this isn't simply an online fight involving an iconic video game composer. O'Donnell is currently the Republican nominee for the Nevada's 3rd congressional district after winning the Republican primary in June.
Also, he was one of the original creators of the original Halos, which they hate.
He will face a Democratic Susie Lee in November. Okay, so this is all part of the plan, baby. It's all part of the plan. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably like, left, right, right. Look, dude, again, I don't give 2 shits who you are, okay?
I do.
You are...
I ain't playing those games.
Democratic, and you're coming to a con. I don't give a damn. To be fair, most people don't, all right?
I'll give a damn if you're making terroristic threats and supporting terrorism, which most of them do.
It's only from the other side, where they're like, we don't feel comfortable. But we'll have this straight up grape guy here. We'll have him here all day. Totally fine.
Exactly.
But...
exactly why you just can't... we can't get along. There's no way.
That's just how these things work, okay? It's how these things work. It says Marty O'Donnell responds in an exclusive statement provided to the Geeks and Gamers. O'Donnell revealed that his appearance at SacAnime had been in the works since January and said the convention had even asked him to record a promotional video for the event just 2 weeks before his invitation was rescinded. That's how these things work. I bought merch for the Game and Geek Expo. They removed me. They never paid me. Didn't really matter. The con failed miserably, which was to be expected because it blew up on the internet everywhere. And now they're doing it again this year. And of course, they didn't reach out to me. Why would they? Says O'Donnell also directly addressed the controversy surrounding his existential threat remarks, arguing that his comments...
Dude, my brain is going to explode if he has to read existential one more time.
...have been twisted by his political opponents and alleging that his removal of this SacAnime was ultimately motivated by his Republican congressional campaign. Shocking. Here's what Marty O'Donnell said. He says, in January, I was invited to attend a Halo reunion at SacAnime over Labor Day weekend in Sacramento, California. Now, it being in California, yeah, you're pretty boned there. I was excited to attend with so many stars, including Jen Taylor and Steve Downs, to celebrate 25 years of Halo with all of our fans. They even asked me to record a video promoting my attendance 2 weeks ago. After SacAnime made numerous announcements of my attendance over the last weekend, I was told I was being disinvited because I called Marxism an existential threat. They have removed me from the website and deleted all their posts on social media promoting my appearance. My existential threat comment has been twisted by my political opponent.
There went my brain.
It's over the last few weeks, and anyone who saw the video knows that to be true. That is why I know it's not...
Dude, OBS, why do you keep making my fucking electric in my eye go all wonky? Why does it keep moving up like I've got a fucking lazy electric eye? It's so fucking annoying. There we go. I fixed it.
Not why I have been pulled from the anime. I was pulled because I'm a Republican. That's it. And that's likely true, to be honest. Funnily enough, SacAnime's decision proves my point. Silencing the opposition is a key component of Marxism, and that is the one reason why Marxism is an threat to our country. And that's 100% true, right? It's always like free speech unless it's free speech I don't like, right? And even then, he didn't say that, right? So it doesn't even matter. It isn't not even part of the conversation. He says, I genuinely believe we had put an end to cancel culture after 2024, but that was just the end to what AOC called woke number 1. No, not the sequel. The sequel's always worse, right? Unless it's Terminator 2, then it's great. Woke 2 is here, and it's just as eager to silence and destroy conservatives as Woke 1. Unfortunately for them, I can't be silenced, and I'll continue to use my voice to speak out against the threats our country faces, especially from... That's how this works. Jen Taylor even promoted his...
I think he just has problems with EX words.
Right? She even was all cool about it. The longtime voice actress Cortana, she was all on board with it. Everybody's on board with it. Okay. Misrepresenting O'Donnell's words has real consequences. The issue here isn't whether O'Donnell political opponents like his views. The issue is whether those...
This is just going to make Halo look even worse, dude.
Opponents accurately represented what he said. Of course, they're not going to. I'm sorry if you've been in the political spectrum at all in the last 10 years. maybe longer. Let's say probably 100 years. I don't know. But like very, very especially the last 10 years. Nothing's true. All of it's fake. Everything's always being very, very silly all the time. It's always being silly. They're all going crazy. And now it's just turning into mudslinging on social media. It's crazy. It says this is not merely a disagreement over political rhetoric anymore. It's just an inflammatory version of O'Donnell's remarks entering the public conversation. O'Donnell is now facing professional consequences amid the resulting controversy. It's all very, very silly. Now, I will say this. This was BS as hell. Anybody that watches the video understands what happened. These cons don't really care, okay? They like to throw the word uncomfortable around to hold some more weight to their...
Yeah, and the companies that are going to these cons need to tell them to fuck right off, or we're going somewhere else. But they're not going to do that because they also agree with this philosophy, which is anti-philosophy.
Their statement, no one really gives a shit, okay? No one believes you. No one cares, okay? Canceling people's gay. It's been gay forever. And cancel culture is not dead at all.
And being gay is not good.
Although it has been weakened, but it ain't dead. You know, we've all seen it happen. We've all seen it happen from a mile away, and it's still happening right now. It says right here, look at this. Asmongold says this is what these people do. Until conservatives are willing to match this energy and exceed it, they will continue losing the cultural ground. Conservatives are more concerned with preserving their principles than winning philosophy that ensures a future with neither.
Yep, deport them all. That's what I always say. All of these disgusting, degenerate freak commies, get them the fuck out of my country.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't care about Europe. They can do whatever the fuck. I'm talking about America.
Yeah, right? The reason they're saying that is because they see any opposing worldview as violent. Any opposing worldview they have, completely violent.
Yeah, let's meet them where they lie.
Right? Doesn't matter what it is.
They think that there's violence, let there be violence.
Literally doesn't matter what it is.
I'm not being literal. I'm saying the monopoly of violence from the government should be used against these people to get them the fuck out because they are trying to take over America.
You can be hyper liberal and say one thing that is not liberal and you're done. You're also canceled. And look, I'm not trying to get political here. I don't really care. But that's the point. Okay. That's the point. These things happen. It happened to me directly. That's just how these things work. Now, luckily enough, baby, that he has been invited to another one. And it's one that's close to my heart here. It's close to my heart, guys. So there's a Vegas meetup and it's called Sin City with Stutter and Craig and Side Scrollers. Great people. I might go to this. I don't know. We'll see. But Marty O'Donnell has accepted an invitation to this.
Hell yeah.
Which will be awesome.
Dude, this is the new culture. This right here. They think that they're the culture over that SacAnime. But no, people like Stutter and Craig, Yellow Flash, fucking Nerdrotic. These are the current leaders of the culture.
Same thing happened to me. I got invited to 3 cons directly after I got canceled from the Gaming Geek Expo. It's called the Streisand Effect. People don't like cancel culture, and to be fair, people on most political spectrums don't like it either. Normal people who might be liberals, they don't like it. Conservatives don't like it. No one likes it. The only people that like it are the people that benefit from it, and that is gay. It's gay. It's what it is.
No, and the leftoids online, they see this stuff happen, and they're not thinking, oh man, this sucks. Why didn't they just let them go? No, they're cheering it on. I think Camelot is doing too much of the fence sitting and doesn't actually know what's going on because he's not paying attention. But that's okay. I still love him, Bob. I still love him, brother.
Marty O'Donnell was...
So yeah, something definitely changed at Bethesda Game Studios, and over at Xbox once Asha Sharma took over the reign. We're getting more communication than we ever have, especially in regards to what's going on with Bethesda's properties. It's just a very weird feeling, because it's just never been like this. Phil Spencer kind of just let Bethesda do what they want.
I don't think it's going to get better.
And Bethesda enjoyed that, but these days, things are different.
What's going to happen when they do all of this work, and none of it works? What are they going to do to Bethesda?
And we're starting to get a lot more, and I think that's going to be a trend that only continues. Now, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the updates at Bethesda. The big thing was the Obsidian announcement, but they also talked about how the remasters were on the way for Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3. But specifically...
I don't want it, man. Oblivion is still broken. The Oblivion remaster, the in-game is still fucked up. It does not work. They have not fixed it yet.
With the Elder Scrolls 6, we kind of got nothing. And that was my big gripe with it. It's been 8 years since the game was announced in 2018. We still have that little teaser video, which I show in all of my videos when we talk about the game, but there's been absolutely no new real updates for years now. There's been some rumors, some leaks. I talked about that in last year's like everything we know about video, but there hasn't been much as of the last couple of years in regards to what the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be. Well, it looks like Asha Sharma again is just giving more indication that things are going to be.
Okay, so you ever take so long playing a game, getting through the story? Let's say, example, Skyrim. You ever played Skyrim and you got about, I don't know, quarter way, halfway through, and then you stop playing for a while? Do you go back to play the old character, the old unfinished character, or do you restart? Because if you go back and play the unfinished character, you're gonna forget everything that happened before then, and also you're just gonna change everything about how your character goes moving forward. If you reset, though, then you know everything, but you still have to reset. It takes longer. It takes a long time to get back to where you were, and then you end up getting back to where you were, and you're like, well, fuck, I'm bored. I think that's what was happening at Bethesda.
Increasing. We're going to be learning more, and it makes me believe that maybe we're going to be getting a new teaser for the Elder Scrolls 6 soon. But she opened up on her social media with a just random out of the blue post which says live playthrough of the Elder Scrolls 6 blank this morning, and that blank is what's getting everybody talking because it is 8 characters long. So that is the full name. Obviously they're teasing at it. She says the scale and grandeur are incredible. The story is even greater. Now I
don't care about scale and grandeur.
Stress, I don't make too much of the latter part of this statement because
dude, the bigger and better culture from AAA is really pissing me off, dude. There's no point in making something bigger and better if it's not actually better.
And Asha Sharma is notoriously not a big gamer, and her saying these remarks is pretty similar to what Phil Spencer years ago was saying about Starfield, talking about how I was going to read,
or like how Jeff Keighley said that Highguard is gonna be so good. Everybody's gonna be so sorry whenever this game comes out.
Define gaming, it was such a fantastic, and we all know what that was. I don't really make too much of that, but the fact that we're actually getting something with the Elder Scrolls 6, and she even teased it right here, it does mean something, because it's got the community actually like, oh my god, now we got things to talk about. People are now theorizing because it's not Hammerfell. If you don't know, the Elder Scrolls 6 has been seriously linked to 2 locations. Many people believe it's going to take place in the provinces of High Rock and Hammerfell. And with sailing as a possible, new gameplay component and such, maybe we'll be going back and forth. Maybe there'll be even more places we'll be able to explore. But those 8 symbols, those 8 characters, what do they represent? There's theories that Sentinel, that a city within Hammerfell, and actually, might I add, it is the capital city specifically, so it's a place of importance. Dominion, because the Aldmeri Dominion has long been considered probably one of the biggest threats that's going to be posed within that game. It's kind of teased in Skyrim, that conflict of the Aldmeri Dominion versus the Empire.
I think the name that we're going to get is going to be way more lame than all of the names that we've been coming up with.
Some people have said maybe it's the Great War, or Great War, Elder Scrolls 6 Great War. I don't think that rolls off the tongue that well, but
I could see them doing it.
Elder Scrolls 6 Sentinel, Elder Scrolls 6 Dominion seem to make the most sense right now, but it's just fun to finally have something to talk about with this game. And some people were saying maybe this isn't anything, maybe you should just put 8 random characters. Well, Bethesda Game Studios' official account responded saying it was great being able to show you, and then those same 8 characters. Thank you for the kind words and a wonderful visit. So obviously this was on purpose. This is an actual team. And actually, as we're recording, here is a fun little update. Elder Scrolls writer Michael Kirkbride commented on this. This is important because years ago, there was rumors that the Elder Scrolls 6 was going to be called Redfall. Obviously, that ended up being a different game, but Kirkbride was one of the first individuals that came forward saying that's not the name for the Elder Scrolls 6. He insinuated he knew it, and here he actually commented on Reddit saying that Sentinel, he put his name behind it. So he could be hinting here that the Elder Scrolls 6 is called Sentinel, which is interesting. Again, capital city of Hammerfell kind of would follow in the legacy of Daggerfall, which was also named after a city rather than like a province. So just rather interesting. Oh, and for those unaware, Michael Kirkbride left Bethesda years ago. Obviously, though, it still seems to be that he has connections with the modern studio, but he is a key figure on this franchise. A lot of the lore that was set, him, Todd Howard, Kurt Coleman, those were key figures in the development of all of this, and he has notable credits in games like Redguard, Morrowind, and Oblivion, so he knows what he's talking about. He clearly probably knows a lot about what the Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be. So yeah, him saying this is of note. Oh, and by the way, Bethesda themselves have teased at Sentinel. This was actually done in Starfield's Direct with our employee number and code. So yeah, this feels like the Elder Scrolls Sentinel. Just get used to hearing that a lot more in the future. And it makes me wonder if maybe more is on the way. Maybe by the end of the year, why not show off a new little teaser video? I know Todd Howard has talked about it in numerous interviews. He's been irritated over the fact that that's the only thing people have with the Elder Scrolls 6. Why not show a new location and finally reveal the full name of the game? We all expect the Elder Scrolls 6 is not coming anytime soon. All indication is that this is a 2028, 2029, if not later game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be later than that.
Being more open, community.
I think 2031. I think that's the year.
Communicating about what the Elder Scrolls 6 actually is, I
can tell you, I ain't gonna be buying it.
Time. It's honestly ridiculous that we've gone 8 years without really any concrete details about what this game actually is going to feature. And based on how Asha Sharma and Bethesda have been, recently communicating the last couple of months, it makes me believe that more is on the way. And yes, I will pick apart the fact that she says the story is greater, the scale and grandeur are incredible.
How would she know?
It does not mean too much to me. Yeah. I think some people dwelling on that fact.
It's just fucking corpo speak. That's what I keep telling people. She's just another corpo. She's making changes that are different, sure, but they're still corpo changes.
I wouldn't really think too much of it. Again, they said the same thing with Starfield, and, a Bethesda story being greater, the skepticism is very much there.
And also, how long is she going to be there before they switch her out with another CEO? Because they don't keep CEOs very long, not long enough to actually do any good. Because we got Phil Spencer that did all the Game Pass stuff, and then they replaced him. What happens in a few years whenever all of this doesn't work? Or if it's just not enough, or she wants to move on, then they're going to move somebody in who's going to make even more changes.
And even with the Elder Scrolls 6, I'm just so excited to finally have a new Elder Scrolls game. That's
really the changes that we need to go back to Xbox 360. Hard stop before the Xbox One even starts getting worked on. We need to just stick with the 360, that era, those types of games, those types of online games, no microtransactions, no fucking always online single-player games. Get that shit out of here.
That's the big thing that gets me so excited, especially the mods. The modding community is going to go insane with this game whenever it does release. Now,
unless it's too broken and shitty and boring like Starfield.
This is not where the story ends, because there is a lot more going on, especially in regards to Bethesda Game Studios, and maybe more specifically outside of Bethesda Game Studios, like literally right outside the studio. As Games Radar reports, the Elder Scrolls 6 demo had a surprise guest at Bethesda HQ, a giant inflatable rat set up by protesting employees to watch Xbox executives who oversaw devastating layoffs.
Yeah, shitting on your bosses. Yep, that's going to secure your jobs. Fire them all.
Yeah, they set up a giant rat, I guess. And as you can see in the photos, one flag equals one person, and it's just rows of representing the employees that were terminated in the recent layoff.
They need to add more flags.
Which, struck a lot of employees at X. As this individual reports, CWA union members have inflated a giant rat and deployed a wall of red flags representing laid-off Xbox workers outside of the Bethesda office in Rockville, Maryland. The protest was timed to coincide with a visit from Xbox CEO Asha.
I wonder how many of these people go to the political protests. I bet all of them. I bet they go as a team.
Sharma, who's apparently at the studio today, and nobody's really talking about this after Asha Sharma's tweet. Maybe that was on purpose, maybe it was, I don't know. Furthermore, the Bethesda Game Studios union went to Blue Sky and said, today at HQ,
of course,
we had special guests from Microsoft leadership. We refuse to let executives forget what game...
Of course it's fucking Blue Sky. Fire them!
Game studios are actually made of.
Deport them!
workers. As welcome gift, we placed hundreds of flags outside honoring all of the game workers who'd been laid off by Microsoft in 2026 so far. If we want to protect video games, we must start with the actual people who create them. Tell Microsoft how you feel about them laying off the developers who make your favorite games by going to their link in their bio. Now, this has been something that's been ongoing. If you don't know, there was some massive protests which actually got some media attention recently, and there was just some interesting things that were said by these now former employees.
Morale is really low because, we've been told that we're making great games that players love and that we're doing well. And to have this suddenly...
What games? Where? I don't see any.
...hit us has been a huge shock to us.
That remark right there just automatically sets off some red flags, because being told that they're making great games, that just has not been Bethesda the last decade or so. Like, obviously, yeah, they redefined open world gaming 15, 16 years, or even more than that now.
Yeah, they had a bunch of great third-party games, and then they shut down all the studios.
Skyrim back in the day. It's been a very, very long time since I think a lot of people can at least say that Bethesda was on top of things. They have fallen behind, especially in the RPG genre. You have the likes of CD Projekt Red, you have the likes of Larian, all of them surpassing Bethesda in a way that Bethesda just hasn't had the answer. Starfield was supposed to be this big moment for them. It wasn't. So when you have these remarks, especially coming from these individuals, again, there was just like this specific post alone. This is coming from local news that covered this, but on especially on X, it has like 3,000 quote tweets. Many people calling a lot of these developers out, saying that many of them were actually not even around during the Skyrim days. Many of them actually, like the first individual, I believe, only worked on Starfield. So it's just...
And then by the time the next Bethesda game comes out, it's going to be a completely new round of developers.
Yeah, let's continue.
It sucks.
We make all kinds of games, all kinds of people love.
It'd be really nice if we could just...
Like what, Elder Scrolls Blades? Fucking Fallout Shelter? Which those are old too.
To work and make them games that will define a generation of video gaming.
I worked at ZeniMax for about 5 years. We are having a march and a rally to demand dignity and respect and an end to the cycle of layoffs.
Yeah, so
I'm doing a lot of noticing with that crowd.
So this specific report does fall in line with what we've heard before, and this was actually a report that came from IGN, and I feel like many of these individuals probably contributed to this, in which at the time it was said that the Elder Scrolls 6 was going to suffer because of these layoffs. These employees reportedly told IGN that further delays would happen, and this was right after another report came from Jason Schreier, in which he said the game was still 2 to 3 years out. So, the Elder Scrolls 6 coming in 2030, definitely a possibility, but I don't know.
I still think 2031 is the sweet spot. I think it's going to get laid 2, 3, maybe 4 times.
The way that Asha Sharma has now got the communication,
and it's also going to release completely broken,
going at Bethesda, feels like this game's going to be coming sooner rather than later. At least that's my opinion based on this. But again, the individuals that were featured within this video, quality assurance people, you're not going to be winning people over, especially when you're talking about, we make games players love, we make games that define generations. Yeah, old Bethesda did. That many of these individuals were not around for those reigns, and when Bethesda was on top.
Fallout Shelter, there's Fallout Shelter, Elder Scrolls Online, but I think neither of those are Bethesda.
Top of the world. So it's just one of those cases that a lot of people feel like these specific developers are out of touch, and it shows that within...
I think they're not really out of touch. I think they're just lying.
Bethesda's walls, they still haven't got the memo that they are falling behind, and this isn't like
I think they're a bunch of commies.
Just this video alone that you can have this takeaway. We've heard from executives, we've heard from people like Emil Pagliarulo, design director, especially after Shattered Space came out, that DLC for Starfield, and they said that they were super in love with it, they were proud of it. That's not what you want to hear from a company like this. They should understand that they just aren't delivering, they're not doing good enough. And that's why it spooks people for a game like The Elder Scrolls.
I think the reason that they're proud of it, is because it looks pretty in some areas sometimes.
6, because when Bethesda thinks that Starfield was fine and that's something that they're proud of, a lot of people find that that's not good enough, especially when you have other masterpieces coming out and those developers are actually listening. And for what it's worth, many of them are even improving further, like CD Projekt Red with what they did with Phantom Liberty, just so much better,
so good,
so much bigger. And
that was basically Cyberpunk 2 was just the DLC. They could have took that made it a little bit longer, and it could have been a whole nother game. That's how good it is.
Learns, and they've continued that, and that's why there is such excitement for the future of that company, especially Larian as well. All eyes are on Divinity, and
I can't wait to see what this game is. I've never played any of the other Divinity games. Tell me if they're any good, if I should check them out. But I'm very interested in this Divinity game.
And Larian has already promised that this is going to be bigger and better than ever before. Yeah, in the background of this video, you can also notice some of the posters that these former employees are holding up. War never changes, neither does corporate greed. Layoffs never change. Microsoft runs on layoffs. Changes. I think there is a lot of criticism that you can give to Microsoft, but I also believe that this is something that may be unpopular with some people, but there has not been much accountability for how Bethesda has been going about things for the last decade.
Accountability?
Like the
What's
incompetency that has been running amok at BGS.
We're not bad at making games. You're all just a bunch of hating chuds.
There's been zero consequences for that. And certainly you can...
Why do you all have to be so mean?
Criticize Microsoft. There's so many different things, especially with the layoffs at some of these other studios. Like id Software, the way that studio has been getting hit, that just drives me nuts. Like, that's just insane. But Bethesda has not been...
I didn't like Doom Eternal, and I didn't like Doom the Dark Ages. I like the first one.
Held accountable. They were given autonomy under, Xbox for the last 6 or 7 years, and there just wasn't, beneficial results that were enough. Like, you were having Fallout rotting in the... nothing was going on with that IP for the longest time. The Elder Scrolls 6, again, was announced 8 years ago, and there's been very little movement up until just a couple of weeks, So I think there's a lot of frustration in the air, especially from the outside looking in.
I wonder what would have happened if Asha Sharma didn't go in there and make them actually work. Would we just have never got anything until Bethesda completely crumbles?
And getting people to get behind Bethesda right now, it's just something that a lot of people don't feel... They don't feel like it's deserved. And that's the thing people need to understand. It's not about what you did back then, it's about what you're...
Dude, that handgun looks fucking ugly.
...doing now. And Bethesda...
It looks lesser than a marathon gun.
Bethesda really hasn't been at the top of their game maybe in the last 15 years or so. It's been quite a bit of time. Now, we do have some further video from this protest with some developer accounts. We also have a little bit of a speech given, calling out Microsoft's greed.
We're at a turning point in the game.
We're at a turning point.
Industry. We're at the mercy of corporate greed infecting the games we love.
I wish that this account would be said about the microtransactions and the consumer side of this, which has been going on for much longer than just the recent events, but unfortunately, I get that that's not the purpose of this protest and such, but it is funny. Like, corporate greed running amok in this gaming industry. Not really anything new, especially with Bethesda and their microtransactions.
Also, go work somewhere else if you don't like it.
This has been a problem for a while now. But yeah, I guess technically it is something that is now getting the attention, especially when Microsoft's firing as many developers as they are.
I've been working here for about 5 years now. I originally started on 76 because I came from the modding community. I used to be the head writer of Fallout London, and I've been working on an unreleased game that a lot of people were pretty excited about. So I was very surprised to hear that they were cutting me and a bunch of other people on the writing team. We are huge.
Wait. So she was there protesting? But she was one of the people that got laid off? What are we doing?
Fans of Bethesda games, and what we're doing here is a fight for the spirit of Bethesda and keeping corporate greed out of our games so that we can actually make the games that play.
How many Bethesda games are you a fan of? I wonder. Is it Fallout 3, Oblivion, Fallout 4? You can't say New Vegas because Bethesda hates that game. So you got the Skyrim, so there's 4 games. There's 4 games. They have 4 fucking games.
Players have been begging us for.
I will say I am surprised that...
Because I know that they didn't play Morrowind. I know that for a fucking fact.
Bethesda even has a writing team, considering the fact that I think in the past they've said quest designers were in charge of writing key sections and such, so... Them even having writers is a surprise, and also based on the quality of their written content over the last number of years. Again, that criticism is just very loud, and many of these individuals being brought in new faces and such, and again, the results just haven't been there, and that's why people look at this, and yeah, online there has been a lot of people mocking this type of stuff. I do feel for these individuals. I will never just go out there and say people need to lose their job.
I hear that from people all the time. I disagree. Fuck them. Get fired, bitch. You deserve it.
And so much stuff. I think top down, I think Bethesda has had some the management side has been a mess for a long time.
Yeah, they hire these freaks instead of hiring actual real good people, because the real good people don't want to work at a place like Bethesda or EA, like BioWare. They don't want to work at any of these places. They're going to go work at the AA companies or start their own studios. And so they're just stuck with hiring activists who just make everything worse anyway. They fucked themselves into this corner.
Especially when you have a key figure like Todd Howard at the top and a lot of yes men around him. I feel like Bethesda has not made the improvements that were necessary years ago. So, that's skepticism that is lingering on over to the Elder Scrolls 6, and why worry is in the air.
We love doing our jobs. Like, I love working here so much, and ultimately it feels like there's plenty of room to keep us all employed in terms of Microsoft's budget. We know that that's possible, so it'd be really nice if we could just get back to work and make them games that will define a generation of video gaming.
How many? One that you think will define a generation? We've already got our generation-defining games, and you're gonna have to beat those. Good luck.
Define a generation. That is just an interesting remark.
You mean define 2 generations, because it's gonna be 20 years since your last fucking game.
Because that is what the Elder Scrolls 6 kind of has to be. That is going to be the expectation. But beforehand, again, that was kind of the expectation.
Yeah, they fucked themselves into this corner.
With a game like Starfield. That's at least how it was hyped up, and, well, the results speak for themselves. So yeah, that Bethesda protest was met to a lot of mockery.
Really, what they need to do, what they fucking need to do, is they just need to get Skyrim and mod it. They just need to mod Skyrim into being a completely different game. That's all you gotta do. You don't have to make a whole new thing that's bigger and better, working off of a better version of Starfield's engine. What are we doing? You don't have to do that. Just do the Skyrim again. Just do it again. That Fallout New Vegas was literally Fallout 3 again. And that's the most beloved in the franchise.
Online, and a lot of people calling out Bethesda. Personally, myself, I'm just never...
So they have no idea what they're doing.
Going to advocate for mass layoffs and stuff. That's just not how I am. But
I hope everybody in the entire gaming industry gets fucking fired, and the whole thing crumbles.
At the same time, there is a weirdness to videos like this and just how BGS developers have talked about their games, especially the recent entries. It just, there's a lack of understanding how the public really views these games.
They don't give us slack. I ain't giving them any slack. Fuck them.
Like, I kind of wish they were more humble and more understanding about these feelings and how they do need to do better. But maybe that's not to be expected in a protest like this. Maybe that's a key takeaway that should be had. But it's not even like, it's just other stuff.
And they're wasting their time. They could be out there looking for more jobs, but they just want their job at Bethesda back. It's their dream job. But nobody else is going to hire them because they fucking suck.
That's been going on, because this is another former Bethesda developer. This is a viral story. I don't think this is a good idea. A veteran Bethesda world artist says Starfield having 1,000 plus planets was the wrong move. It's insane to me.
Yeah, these people have no fucking idea what they're doing. Yes, that's what we were saying the whole time. That's what we were saying whenever he first announced it. I hope that they don't just have 1,000 boring planets, and then they did that.
Because this is another key lead former developer at Bethesda who's like, yeah, what we're doing, not a great idea. But they still went forward with it because that was Todd's vision. It's like, this is a lead artist at Bethesda. They are no longer there, but they were a key figure up until 2021. And then another figure already said this in the past. Bruce fucking Nesmith, who was the co-lead on Skyrim. And again, another key figure who pretty much said the exact same thing.
Yeah, all of the best people that worked on the best things don't work at these corporations.
She's like, yeah, that procedural generation, 1,000 planets, even I didn't think it was a great idea. I would have only done like one solar system. So you're hearing from multiple people behind the scenes that were key figures at Bethesda, and they all knew that they were pretty much going down a bad road and that things weren't going to land where they needed to, yet they still went down that road. They still let Todd get...
fucking listen. Any criticism is just labeled as hate. You're stupid. You don't know what's going on.
His vision, and that's why I'm
get with the times. This is what the culture calls for.
on how to feel about the Elder Scrolls 6 and what to expect, especially if this mentality is going to continue. It was already earlier this year that we had somebody like Kurt Coleman leave Bethesda and just blast them, exposing a lot of the chaos happening behind the scenes, talking about the bureaucracy, talking about broken promises, and then Kiwi Talks talked to a bunch of former Bethesda developers.
It almost seems like it's like a game factory that is producing shit products, and they're freaking out about it, don't know what to do, and anybody who brings up the problems, they're like, nope, we're not the problem, you are, you're fired.
And they also pretty much said that, like, Todd Howard is the head honcho. He is involved. He is pretty much the guy.
Yeah, micromanaging everything, because he's making games for himself, and you can't do that when you're making games like fucking Skyrim. You can't make games for yourself. You have to make games for the audience.
That decides everything with these games. So the problem,
I don't even think he realized that's what he's doing. But that interview where he was talking about, you know, just having the character stand there and just taking in all of the beauty of the landscape. What the fuck? That's not gameplay.
Problem is, he has his hand in too many jars right now, and that does hurt a project like the Elder Scrolls 6.
You know, the Toddification of these things happened where, like, you know, you have one guy, Todd Howard, who's like kind of really manning the ship and talking to everybody and doing all the things, and the higher he gets, the more he's just like not connected, and the center ceases to hold.
Or maybe the modding community saves things yet again, because they've done it with almost all of Bethesda's entries, especially, you know, a game like Skyrim, which, yeah, redefined gaming, but a lot of that is because of the contributions coming from that huge modding communities.
Yeah, the game was completely fucking broken, dude. Whenever I first bought Skyrim, I had to download a whole bunch of patches. Skyrim, whenever I very, very first bought Skyrim, actually, was on PS3. But the reason I don't count that is because it didn't fucking work. I went into the water. Every time I got touched by any kind of water, the game crashed. And then eventually, I think I got... Let's see, where did I get to? I think I got... Oh yeah, Winterhold. I got to Winterhold, all that snow. Nope, couldn't handle it. It could not handle it, and it just completely fucking crashed. And every time I'd load up that save, it would crash, so I'd start a new save. And then the same exact fucking thing happened in a different area. So I just refunded that bitch and sold my PlayStation, got an Xbox again, got Skyrim. Worked fine.
So maybe that is something that will be felt with the Elder Scrolls 6. But regardless, though, things are different right now. They feel different. And a lot of that has to do with Asha Sharma. She has lit a torch under Bethesda's butts. It feels like they're changing. They're being forced to change.
Yeah, but are they, like, frantically doing it? Are they frantically trying to make a game? Or are they actually, you know, getting passionate about making a game? Because I don't see it.
I hope that influence isn't just felt in terms of communication. I hope that's felt with the actual game quality of this experience.
I don't think so.
Because the Elder Scrolls...
And especially looking at all those people, you know, what kind of people they are. This is going to be the gayest Bethesda game yet.
Scrolls 6 is going to have immense pressure, very similar to the pressure that a game like Grand Theft Auto 6 right now faces. And I will say the skepticism is a lot more loud with a game like the Elder Scrolls 6 because of Bethesda's just recent work in the last number of years, which is kind of uninspiring. And that uninspiring nature is what has many people voicing doubts that Bethesda is going to be able to land with the Elder Scrolls 6, and I hope they prove people wrong. I am a huge fan of these franchises, and I just want better. I'm always going to have an ounce of hopium in me that they deliver with the Elder Scrolls 6, and
they deliver the Elder Scrolls 6.
It is a huge comeback story, but we're probably a couple of years away from even finding out or seeing actual gameplay, but maybe there is a teaser on the way. I'd love to see an actual commitment to a date, you know, a new location, just show off something.
They're going to show off a cinematic trailer, and it's not going to be any gameplay, and it's going to be like a generic medieval game slop like that first Avowed trailer. I don't trust any of this shit.
It's been far too long. It's my big takeaway from Asha Sharma's tweet the other day. Just show off something, something more, something actually of substance. It's been way too long. But anyway, what do you make about what's going on with the Elder Scrolls 6 and Bethesda? And
I think it's going to be a complete fucking disaster, and I can't wait. Unless I die or something between now and then, I will be talking about this. Or unless I get Nick Fuentes and just get canceled off every platform, I'll still be talking about it. I'll find a way.